The great man is over our shoulder. It's time for a bit of Trump time, which means American political chat, and our mate Oliver McGee, normally from Lubbock, Texas, but right now in Washington, D.C. there at Fox News. Of course, Republican to his bootstraps, worked in the Trump White House, and lovely to see you on what is a Super Tuesday hangover, Wednesday your time. So, a lot of vote for Biden. Sanders didn't get the buffer that he wanted. What's your take out of what happened in the past 24 hours?
Well, it was a big night for Biden, but also a great night for Donald Trump. Essentially, all the states that were covered are really all the Southern strategy states that are going to be taken by a landslide by Donald Trump. So Donald Trump had two primaries last night, his own in the Republican Party, but also on the Democratic side. So the Democrats have a lot of work to do. You know, Paul, I think they're really trying to sell a very tough brand, a bad, flawed brand for November voters, because they're really trying to say, hey, you know, from Biden's gaffe machine to Bernie's very costly programs and tax and spending initiatives, the deep state is trying to reestablish themselves with their establishment because they're very nervous. So they're pushing Bernie aside to try to get Biden in place so they can basically hold on to the deep state establishment and put in all of those clowns back in there should the American people make the big mistake of putting in an Obama third term.
Yeah, now I'm here with James Morrow, who is, a New Yorker, but don't hold that against him. He's a common sense man, Trump supporter, and is part of the team here at Sky News. What's your sense of what happened today?
Well, my sense of what happened today is that, Biden did well, but it was like they'd gone only to Biden after exhausting every other option.
100%.
The thing I want to ask...
For want of a better term, they went back to their wife.
They went back to their wife, yes. Did the wife even remember them? I don't know. But,
that's a good point.
But the question I want to ask Oliver here is, the other thing I'm looking at is there seems to be in the Democrat Party a huge amount of division. And when you look at the vote total numbers, when you add up the Bernie Sanders numbers and the Elizabeth Warren numbers, I know you can't put those two together, as people, but there seems to be a huge progressive left-wing radical woke wing of that Democratic Party that will not be satisfied if Biden is the nominee, and if they put him in there, they won't come to the polls, I don't think, come November. What's going to happen to the Democratic Party? I mean, can they continue to have these two wings of the party even under the same tent?
Absolutely not. The Democratic Party has been built on a kumbaya model. We all have to hold hands and stay together, and we all have to sing down to the parade to destruction. They are really basically setting up a prescription for the Bernie bros to be so upset that they'll stay home like they did on Hillary. And you could probably expect that. And then also there's going to be some more surprises because, you know, the Democratic voters and the Republican voters know when they see a shaft machine coming at them. They're getting the shaft of the deep state establishment that wants to hold on to the power of Washington, D.C. And make no bones about it, the deep state controls Washington, D.C., and that's what they're trying to put in with Biden. But he's a gaffe machine. They're very nervous about that and going up against Donald Trump.
He got his sister and his wife confused today.
They don't want... That's right. They don't want Bernie in there because he's... That's right. They don't want Bernie in there because he represents this real strong move off the left end of the bench. But the new Republican agenda that Donald Trump established with pure Republican voters in the flyover states of the country, they are all with it. Donald Trump is asking those voters digitally, are you in or are you out with this Trump economy? And the Trump economy, I would like to say for both you, Paul, beat the Mueller investigation, the Trump economy beat the Kavanaugh drama, and then more importantly, the Trump economy beat the Alice in Wonderland impeachment hoax that Nancy made a huge mistake to do, and she'll lose the House as a result of it.
Now, also what's really interesting for people who are sort of half paying attention to this, which is a lot of people in Australia, but they all care about who the Donald's going up against or who goes up against the Donald. Now, you're from Lubbock, Texas, so I was watching all of them, talking about, this about Texas and that about Texas. Good, I made some money betting on Biden winning in that state, so I was more than happy. Good, back him in at $2.75. But they focus in on, say, the total vote in Lubbock, Texas was 15,000 people. who voted in this Democrat primary. There are 250,000 people who live in Lubbock, Texas. So what ends up happening is that don't think that Texas voted today. Texas Democrats voted today. Oklahoma Democrats voted today. So people sort of suggesting that, oh, well, look at all these big numbers Biden racked up from this bit of the coast to that bit of the coast. Well, to be honest, it's a bit like Donald Trump winning the Californian Republican primary. Well, there's not too many Republicans in California. So I think people also need to, you know, if you're half paying attention, don't think that Texas voted. Only certain people in Texas voted.
Well said, a great analysis. All of the states that Biden is racking up to get the few delegates that he has to play catch up with Bernie Sanders, these are all states that's a slam dunk for Donald Trump in November. So this is what we're looking at very carefully. How is this all playing out in November? And as I said in the beginning of our segment, the brand, the product that they're selling is so flawed. They're selling socialism or Biden's gaffe machine. Expect new surprises coming as we go forward and get deeper into this nomination process. But the establishment, this is all about the establishment on the Democratic side, trying to keep a hold of their deep state power, because they already saw the corporate takeover on the Republican side. And guess what? The new Republican movement said, we're fine with it. They're still sticking with our principles of low taxes, free and fair trade, strong military, low regulations, a booming economy, prosperity, and populism is selling not only in America but across the world. And you know what? We like Donald Trump. He makes us smile at the rallies. We have a good time. We're having cookouts and barbecues and tailgate parties, and it's a big, wonderful show. It's the best show in politics. But when you look at Bernie, and Bernie's looking so angry, he makes you sad to watch him even campaign. And Biden is screaming at you on the air. So it's a bad show.
Yeah, someone needs to tell them the difference between line and mic when you're feeding out audio, because there's a lot of distortion coming out of that thing, which is really annoying to watch.